Good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 89 of the Ask the Coach show, where PingSkills answers your table tennis questions. You can find all of our past shows on our website at www.pingskills.com and then click on the blog link. And while you're there, make sure to sign up for our free newsletter for lots of great table tennis tips. For this show, we take a selection of questions from our Ask the Coach section of our website to answer. We also answer questions from live viewers. You can ask a question directly by going to plus.google.com/PingSkills, finding the current show, and then click on the Q&A button. Today, we're discussing the reverse backhand serve, using foam to clean your rubbers, how to deal with a sharp push, and how much spin you can get with short pimples. As always, Super Coach Alois Rosario is here with me to answer your questions. Welcome, Alois.
Good morning, Jeff. And I was up a little bit earlier this morning, watching a bit of Waldner.
Watching a bit of Waldner, that's exciting. So what's going on with Waldner?
Well, they're playing the ITTF Legends Tour matches, and so they're up to the semi-finals now. I just sort of watched bits and pieces of it, but so Waldner played Jiang Zhaliang in the quarter-final. Now, that brings back some pretty special memories for me of watching those two guys in 1987 in New Delhi face off in the final of the World Championships, where Jiang narrowly beat Waldy. And I tell you, it doesn't quite look the same today.
A little bit different. I remember seeing some of that on that match in '87 on video, and the one thing that I remember is after Jiang Zhaliang won a point, he walked around Waldner's side of the table going like this. I'd never seen that before. It was just quite amazing.
Yeah, it was. He was pretty pumped, and yes, I remember that clearly. Just walking around the Waldy's side and just giving him the fist pumps. But the match this morning's, I mean, Jiang plays with short pimples and basically smashes every ball. So, I mean, the accuracy that you need for that is amazing, and it just shows how much those guys are practicing at the time. It doesn't take much to just lose a little bit of that feel, and especially when you're playing with short pimples and trying to smash every ball, it becomes really difficult. The other thing that Jiang was always good at was moving, and now you see that he's got both knees got supporting bandages on them, and every time Waldy went out wide to Jiang's forehand, it was just like it was such a struggle for the poor guy to get out there. So Jiang 51 this year, Waldy 50 this year. So I mean, amazing abilities at that age, and it just shows. I mean, these guys put in so many hours when they were young that those skills just hold up throughout their life.
Wow. Okay. So Waldner ended up winning easy, did he? Because of Zhang's movement not quite as good, and I guess the accuracy you would need with those short pimples. Yeah,
second game was definitely a bit of an exhibition. Waldy, I mean, obviously felt that he was way on top of Jiang and had him under control, and he just sort of, playing pretty soft. But then in the third game was interesting. Jiang came out and it was 4-love up, just Waldy made a few soft backhands and things. So Jiang was 4-0 up in the third game, and Waldy thought, okay, I better get a bit serious, and just started stepping around his forehand and hooking forehands, and I think it was 8-4, 9-4 or something before we even knew it. So great to watch those guys. So at the moment though, Waldy's playing Jean-Michel Save, and he's down 1-0 and down in the second game. So Jean-Mi looks really good. And the other player that really impressed me is Gatien. So Gatien has played Jorgen in the semis, and Jorgen ended up winning, but Gatien looked really good, still really strong, still getting around and playing his forehands and pivoting and making half volleys down the line. So yeah, some good step down memory lane.
Absolutely, yeah, interesting. And I think it's a good thing they've brought the Legends Tour in. I think it's going to create a lot of interest, especially among people our generation, Alois. Maybe not so much for the younger players who will be like, "Who is Waldner?"
Yeah, I know. We're just living a little in the past, but sometimes it's okay.
Indeed, indeed, excellent. All right, well, let's take a look at yesterday's PingSkiller question of the day, Alois, which was, is red really faster? And which colour do you use on your forehand?
Well, I like to use red on my forehand, but the color really doesn't make any difference at all to the actual performance of the rubber. But yeah, it's just one of those things, you get used to. I suppose it's because when I was young, they only had red rubber, and so when they changed to red and black, I always felt like the red was better. So I used to stick the red on my forehand all the time. What about you, Jeff?
I don't really have a preference. Sometimes I like red, sometimes I like black, and because I've always used the same rubber on both sides, I don't really even notice that much. And even during a single game, I could use black on my forehand for one point and red on my forehand for the other point. I just, yeah, really don't have a preference.
Yeah, actually, coming to think of it, when I played with Chinese rubber, I definitely played with black on the forehand at that time, and I think there was a lot of talk and thought about at the time that the black was a little bit spinnier and grippier, and yeah, that got in my head, and I did play with the black on my forehand when I was playing with Chinese rubber.
Yeah, I've heard people say in the past that for European rubber, red's faster, and for Chinese rubber, black's faster. But I have never noticed any difference whatsoever.
Yes, yeah, probably you've got it right, I'd say.
Indeed. All right. Well, let's talk about the Ping Skillers question of the day, which is, what playing conditions make a difference for you? Is it the floors, the lights, the table? Go to our website, pingskills.com, click on the blog link, and leave a comment on this show. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What playing conditions make a difference for you? All right. The first question is from Johan, who says, are there any potential downsides to a reverse backhand serve? I find it easier to play short with spin than the normal backhand serve. People just stare at you like, what the hell did you just do, if you start with a long and fast serve like that?
Yeah, so the reverse backhand serve, what Johan's talking about is instead of doing that on your backhand serve, is doing that. So just turning the bat over and using the forehand side. I do actually find it easier as well. I find that I can generate more spin because you've modified your grip, so you're actually using your wrist a little bit more. So you're using it in the reverse motion to generate the spin. So you're coming this way, so it's zoom. So you're actually using better wrist. Then I find I can't get as much spin with just the backhand serve. So the reverse serve, but it's something I don't really utilise that much, and it's just Johan's reminded me of it. It's a good tip. It was interesting after Johan asked his question. One of the kids at one of the schools that I coach at came out and was just doing this serve and said, "Oh, I've invented this new serve, and look how good it is." And he did it really naturally and really well. So a bit of a coincidence, but. Yeah, definitely worth a try. And Brian Berry, one of the players in Melbourne, does it well. He does that one. So yeah, it can be effective.
Yeah, so I guess people should just experiment with their serves and find what suits them, and you don't have to stick with the standard serves if you feel more comfortable with something else.
Yeah, that's right. Just find something that suits you, and the reverse backhand serve could be good.
Excellent. All right. So, yeah, if you like it and it works well for you, Johan, keep going with it. All right. Next question is from Ben. And Ben was at a tournament a few years ago and saw people from New York putting some kind of foam on the rubber blade of the paddle and using a special sponge to help clean or to help the rubber be more slick. What exactly was it, and is it necessary, Alice?
Yeah, so it's the thing that you just spray onto the rubber. It's just basically a foamy detergent type of thing that gets in and cleans your rubber. Certainly not necessary. I just tend to use water. Water's fine. Just the main thing is just getting the dust off the bat. If you are finding that the bat does get a little bit greasy at times, you can just put a really weak solution of any detergent in. Just a drop of detergent and a fair bit of water, and that'll just help to get a bit of that greasiness off the rubber as well. But yeah, you certainly don't need all those foams and things. Just yeah, a bit of water and maybe a bit of detergent sometimes when you need it.
Yes. So in that question, yeah, Ben was saying it would help the rubber become more slick, but really it's actually cleaning the rubber so it maintains its grip and doesn't have any dust or anything on there.
Yeah, that's right. It's the grip. It's the grip that's the key. So yeah, by getting rid of the dust and any build up on the rubber, you're allowing the rubber to perform its function properly and grip the rubber properly. Grip the ball properly. Sorry.
Indeed. All right. So thanks for the question, Ben. So yeah, we just recommend just water. You know, there's nothing wrong with those foams. So if you want to spend your money and use it, go ahead. But we just recommend water. All right. Next question is from Charan Kamal, who says, "How do you hit a topspin on a sharp push, and how to make it spinny and slow?" And I guess this is part of the terminology we were talking about, Alice. I guess, firstly, what is the sharp push, and then how do you counter that?
Yeah. So a push is where you're coming underneath the ball and putting a bit of backspin. A sharp push is just hitting a faster backspin ball that usually ends up quite deep on the other person's table and has quite a bit of backspin on it because you're doing that quite fast. So to try and counter that, because it's got so much backspin on the ball, you really need to have a bit more of a vertical stroke to lift that ball. If you try and play flat on the ball is going to dive straight down into the net or onto the table. So you need to brush the ball, but you need to brush it very fast as well to counter the backspin that's on the ball. So having a sharp, vertical, but very fine contact is the key. So a fine contact meaning that you're just touching the ball, not hitting through the ball like that, but just touching the ball, and that will help the ball to spin better as well.
Okay, and is it that fine contact that will make the ball go slower if you're aiming for a slow and spinny loop?
Yeah, so the vertical nature of your stroke and the fine contact will, yes, will help that ball to go to lift and be a slower motion through the air. So if you're hitting it flat, the ball's going to go fast. If you do that and brushing the ball's also going to go fast. Whereas if you do a more vertical stroke and a fine contact, then you'll get the higher looping action on the ball.
Okay, great. So yeah, so Charan Kamal wanted to play that slow spinny topspin like you described. So is it possible to play the ball a bit faster off this sharp push?
Yes, you can. And I mean, speaking of, we were just talking about Jean-Philippe Gatien. He was the master of that. So he used to get so much racket head speed with his bat that he could counter heavy backspin with a really horizontal stroke. But the margin for error becomes really, really small, and your bat really has to move so fast to be able to do that. So, so if you're not practicing regularly, or if you're not practicing 4 or 5 times a week, that sort of contact and ability becomes really difficult. So the slower spinny topspin is a much safer way of dealing with the sharp push.
Excellent advice there, Alois. All right, and thanks for the question, Charan Kamal. All right, next question is from Andre, who says, "I tried 2 different short pimples, and both of which are said to generate spin. While I'm aware there can never be as much spin as with inverted, with my usual technique, I wasn't able to get any amount of topspin on the ball. What's going on here, Alois?
Yeah, so with the short pimples, as you say, it is really difficult to generate your own spin. Um, think about the sponge that's underneath the pimples. So if you've got a thin sponge underneath the pimples, again, it becomes more difficult to generate the spin. So if the ball's sinking into the sponge, then you've got a chance of it gripping and spinning out. If it's a very thin sponge, it's hitting wood, so it's coming out very quickly out of the short pimple. So it becomes even harder to generate the spin. So think about the thickness of the sponge, but then also think about your contact on the ball. So you can't really brush the ball really finely with the pimples because the ball will drop off, but you can brush the ball a little bit more to generate a bit more spin. Yeah, I mean, if it's spin you're looking for, then short pimples really isn't the answer. But if you are trying to generate some spin with the short pimples, yeah, then think about the thickness of the sponge and also your contact, just brushing it a little bit more on the contact.
Okay, all right. So, Andre, hopefully that helps you out. Let us know how you get on. All right, we've got a few questions from some live viewers, which is great, that have jumped on and used the Google Q&A app.
I'm glad that the viewers are live, Jeff.
It is important, isn't it? You don't want zombies, that's for sure.
No.
The first question is from Baswa, who has said, while doing the forehand-to-forehand counter hit with my friends, the ball sometimes becomes too low or goes through the middle of the table. I cannot hit it with the same speed and drop it on the same place. And where do I stand near the table to do it the best?
Yeah. So on that forehand to forehand, if the ball's getting faster, it's really important to then start to generate the top spin. If you don't generate top spin, the ball's going to just keep going in that sort of trajectory and sail off the end of the table or go into the net. So top spin there is a real key, especially as the ball starts to get faster. At a slow pace, it's okay to hit the ball flat, but you need that dip on the ball when the ball starts to get faster. So really start to think about generating more brushing contact on the ball to generate that top spin. And you know, the classic finish that we talk about with our forehand is important there to generate that top spin as well. Where do you stand? You can stand just a little bit further away from the table. So if you're too close to the table, it doesn't give you time to make that swing. So just take half a step away from the table, give yourself a little bit more space, and then you'll find that that top spin will be a little bit easier.
Okay, all right. Good luck with that, Baswa. Keep on practicing. It's definitely an important stroke to learn. All right. So Brock's asked a couple of questions. Alois, he says, well, firstly, did you watch the video I sent you yesterday, which I didn't, sorry, Brock, but he sent a video of Waldner's amazing blocks. We have watched lots of Waldner. Both Alois and I are big fans of Waldner. And Alois, he says, do you think Waldner can win the Legends Tour?
Well, the last score I saw, he was struggling against a save, so I don't know. I thought he could, but it'll be interesting to go back after this show and have a bit of a squiz, see how he went.
Indeed. Now we've got a question from Jaden, who says, when I return a slam, and I guess we can talk about terminology again, is it better to slam it back or just do a backhand topspin?
Okay, so a slam is a smash, so hitting the ball very flat and fast. So trying to return a slam or a smash, if you're trying to smash it back, I mean, it becomes really, really difficult because the ball's coming fast, you're trying to hit it fast back. Yeah, too difficult. The easier way is to just take a step back away from the table, and yes, you can topspin it, or just try to block it perhaps if you can, or you could also just go back away from the table and execute the lob stroke. So that's probably the better options. go a little bit further away, give yourself a bit more time to see the smash or the slam, and then lob it back. So there's we've got some lessons on those on the lob. You can have a look at that. We'll put a link on there for you.
Yes, indeed. And I just recently put up on our Facebook page an old video that we had, which was how to return smashes, Alois. So perfect timing, Jaden. So I'll put a link to that in the show as well. And if you haven't, go to our Facebook page and like us, www.facebook.com/PingSkills. All right, and another question from Jaden, Alois, who says, if I upgrade my bat, what is the best part to upgrade?
Yeah, and definitely the rubber. So the rubber is the thing that you need to change. Blades don't make that much of a difference. At the moment, I got out of an old $2.50 bat that had some really, cheap rubber on it. Took the rubber off it, put some good rubber on there, and I found it's fantastic for just using. So it's mainly about the rubber. So if you're thinking about upgrading, just upgrade the speed of your rubber. You can keep the blade for ages.
Excellent. So thanks for the questions, Jaden, and thanks everybody for your questions. That wraps up episode 89. Make sure you visit pingskills.com. Like us on our Facebook page. Like us on our Google Plus page so you can ask questions on the show. And have a great day. Thank you, Alois.
Yeah, you just got to like us everywhere, Jeff. Just like us. Yeah.
Exactly. Why wouldn't you? All right. See you guys. Bye.